Welcome to the deep dive. So, if you're just starting on this journey toward financial independence or FI, you're probably feeling this powerful urge right now.
Hmm. The impulse to grab the calculator.
Exactly. You want the tactics, right? Which specific index fund to buy, how to find the perfect rental property.
Or you want to get into the weeds on the famous 4% withdrawal rate.
Oh, that stuff. But what if we told you that following that urge is probably setting you up for failure before you even begin?
Yeah, today we're making the case for strategic patience. The material we're diving into, it insists that jumping straight into the technical details, the spreadsheets, is the absolute wrong place to start.
But why? I mean, why is that?
Because the quest for FI, it's not really a set of calculations. It's fundamentally a radical, deep-rooted shift in your psychology, in your strategy.
Okay, so you can't successfully execute these advanced financial moves if your foundation, the whole architecture of your economic identity, is still running on the old rules.
You've got it. So we're laying that foundation today. We're exploring a really robust, systematic framework. It's called the three-stage, 13-step approach.
Better known as the golden path to financial independence.
That's the one. It was developed by Tamir Hashem, and it delivers this comprehensive strategic overview that really dictates the sequencing of your entire journey.
So our mission today is purely architectural. We're setting the stage for all the practical steps we'll take in future deep dives. We're focusing on the why and the when.
Why you have to change your mind before you change your money.
And why defense has to come before offense. It all centers on this core mantra that just completely flips conventional wisdom on its head.
Right. Most people think financial freedom means maximal wealth, the biggest number possible. But Hashem insists you have to prioritize the goal of independence first. That's the necessary prerequisite for any kind of sustainable wealth.
So the guiding principle is?
Financial independence first, then wealth.
Okay, let's anchor this framework by talking about its creator for a moment. Tamir Hashem. He's an engineer by training, right? And that seems crucial.
It is. That systematic mindset is everything. His credibility isn't just that he achieved FI, it's that he sort of reverse-engineered freedom into a predictable, repeatable system.
And it's interesting, he's also the official Hebrew translator of a foundational book, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah, and that tells you a lot. The system he developed is a blend. It's the practicality and, the process management of an engineer, but it's merged with this timeless financial philosophy.
His personal story really highlights why stage one, that identity shift, is so non-negotiable.
It really does. Hashem spent decades as a successful salaried engineer, operating completely under the default belief system.
The idea that income only comes from selling your time for money.
Exactly. He was financially secure, but he was dependent.
And then what happened?
He describes this pivotal moment around age 45 after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It sparked a profound change in consciousness. He pivoted internally from the employee identity.
The one who sells time.
To the asset owner mindset, the one who acquires and deploys capital.
And here's the key takeaway for you, listening right now. That identity shift happened long before he had the technical expertise.
Or a specific plan.
Right. It was a conscious decision about who he was going to be economically, not what spreadsheet he was going to follow.
And crucially, he didn't just quit his job. He kept his stable salary and used it as what he calls his economic anchor.
Okay, so that money, instead of just funding lifestyle inflation,
it was now viewed as raw material. Raw material to be deployed into assets. The salary was the fuel, but the new asset owner identity was the engine that deployed it intelligently.
Because if he had kept that old employee identity, the money would have just followed the classic pattern. Income goes up.
Expenses go up.
And dependency stays locked in. But because he chose the owner identity first, he could get through those difficult early steps, like radical saving and initial investing.
Absolutely. That foundational shift, it means your financial actions are no longer sacrifices. They're strategic maneuvers. You go from being an economic dependent who sells hours to an economic architect who designs systems.
So the argument is you have to focus on maximizing the return on identity before you can even think about maximizing your return on investment, or ROI.
That's the core of stage one.
That makes sense philosophically, but let me play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
If I have a fantastic investment opportunity right now, a chance to get a massive ROI, why should I spend months focusing purely on defense? Building an emergency fund, clearing out some low-interest debt. Isn't that just wasted time following this strict sequence?
So that is the most common mistake people make. And the answer is all about protecting your psychological state during the inevitable downturns.
Okay, explain that.
Think of stage 2 resilience as purely defensive. You're building order, stability, and control over your personal financial perimeter.
So what happens if I skip it? I see the hot stock, I jump in.
If you skip resilience, you have no safety net, no emergency fund, you're carrying credit card debt. When a market crash happens, or you face a sudden job loss, you are forced to panic.
And that panic leads to?
What? It leads to you liquidating the very assets you just bought, but you're selling them at a huge loss just to pay the bills. You've destroyed your future growth to cover a short-term crisis.
Ah, so skipping stage 2 means you sacrifice the psychological endurance you need to stay the course.
Exactly. The market will always have short-term noise and inevitable crashes. Resilience gives you the buffer, that defensive wall, to simply ignore it. You can hold your assets through the storm because you don't need the cash right now.
You don't commit the ultimate failure, selling low.
Precisely. And only once that resilient structure is locked in, when your current life is stable and protected, can you confidently move into stage 3, which is growth. That's the strategic offensive phase.
The logic holds up. The goal is financial independence, measurable, stable, passive income, and you only get there by following the correct architectural sequence. Identity, then resilience, then growth.
And we know the sequence works. Hakam's story is the proof. He acquired assets in different countries, created passive income from his translation work.
And then years later, he was able to leverage those assets to help his own kids buy homes.
Right, which just demonstrates the stability and really the generational strength of the system.
Okay, with that strategic logic established, let's walk through the full architecture of the golden path. The 3 stages and the 13 steps. We need the map before we start diving into the weeds.
Let's do it. Stage 1 is building foundational consciousness and financial identity. This is where you do the psychological audit for the whole journey. It's short, just 2 steps.
Step 1 is the shift financial identity. This is that non-negotiable move we talked about, from being a survivor to an owner-manager of capital.
And step 2 is define vision and measure. You translate that vague dream of freedom into a cold, hard, measurable FI target number.
The specific amount of passive income needed to cover a designed lifestyle.
Plus a critical 15 to 20% buffer for security.
So once that mental anchor is set, we move into the longest and most defensive phase, stage 2, building financial resilience. This is all about gaining absolute granular control over your money.
It starts with transparency and control. Step 3 is full financial mapping and self-transparency, getting an honest, true picture of all your numbers.
Income, expenses, liabilities, the whole thing.
The whole thing. Then step 4 is build conscious budget, which isn't about deprivation. It's about allocating money based on your values and goals.
Putting your FI target first.
That's right. Once you have the map, you stabilize. Step 5 is stabilize cash flow, so you're eliminating any deficit and plugging financial leaks. And step 6 is build consistent savings habit.
Making saving a non-negotiable routine.
Like a bill you pay to your future self. Then you build the defensive walls. Step 7 is establish emergency fund and liquidity. That's your cash safety net.
Step 8 is manage and eliminate bad debt, reducing all that high-interest stuff that just erodes your cash flow.
And the final defensive moves are about efficiency and protection. Step 9 is money automation, setting up systems for saving, investing, bill payments.
So you minimize the daily effort and you don't have to rely on willpower.
Right. And step 10, the final step in resilience, is risk management and path protection. That means using insurance and legal planning to protect the assets you already have and the ones you're about to acquire.
Only once all 10 of those steps are completely locked down and automated.
Only then do you move to stage 3, growth and financial freedom. Now you're finally shifting from defense to offense, building those time-independent income engines.
Step 11 is the big one. Acquire or establish your first income-generating asset.
Yeah, this is the transition. Your alliance shifts from your job to income that generates more income. Real estate, a business, digital assets.
Like Hatcham's translation work.
Exactly. Step 12 is the final push. Gradual shift from obligatory work to work by choice. You're scaling and duplicating those income sources until your passive income covers your entire FI target.
And the last one, step 13, runs through all of it. Continuous learning.
That one never ends. Because even after you hit FI, the work just shifts from acquisition to the intelligent management and protection of the freedom you've earned.
So that's the strategic architecture. The overwhelming message here seems to be that success depends far less on finding some unicorn stock
Or the single perfect investment.
and far more on just forging the correct identity in stage one and establishing that systematic control in stage two.
If you prioritize the psychological framework and the systemic resilience, the growth in stage 3 becomes a predictable outcome,
Yeah.
not a desperate gamble.
You've built the guardrails you need to stay on this journey for the long haul, even when the market inevitably hits turbulence.
Remember the core lesson. If you're looking for wealth without first attaining independence, you are building your future on an unstable foundation. Financial independence first, then wealth.
So we'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Hachin discovered that his original beliefs about security and work were just remnants of his old, salaried life. So what happens if you start examining every single economic decision you face?
Every potential purchase,
Yeah.
every chance to save.
And you look at it strictly from the new identity of an established long-term owner of assets.
The foundational consciousness is now set. In our next deep dive, we'll begin the practical work of stage 2, focusing on the specifics of financial mapping and budgeting, those mandatory first steps toward building genuine financial resilience.
We look forward to diving deeper with you soon.